Some of us feel a massive void in life, and the feeling of the combination of chaos and predictability causes the deepest desire to escape from the ever-shifting tides of what we call real life. And this leaves many of us with this feeling.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. Some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. Slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value!
Sometimes it feels like things are working against you. We all experience that kind of stress from time to time. Some of us more than others. As an adult or someone pretending to be, in order to scratch out some vague form of the modern ideal, the standard roof over your head, food in the fridge, internet access, running water, one has to face a world that for all intents and purposes wants to gouge out a piece of your soul. It seems that everyone from the guy that works on your car, to the internet service provider, to wherever it is you end up working, the constant ads in your face for things you don't really need or want. Everyone wants to manipulate your money and time right out of your hands and into their own coffers. They use any and all manner of trickery to pry your earnings from your tired, bleeding fingers. Some of you may feel I'm exaggerating. I get it. But I know full well most people feel like life has been carefully designed to take from you and demand payment to keep your head above water. The real world can just feel exhausting and greedy. Many of us just look forward to blowing off some steam and losing ourselves in some good old-fashioned entertainment. It's something we look to as an escape from the wearing and corrosive nature of the daily grind. We enjoy immersing ourselves in an incredible world that asks only one simple thing of you: to be a part of it. It's the thing we turn to forget about the world's bullshit for a little while. But there seems to be an alarming trend, and one that shows little signs of stopping anytime soon. The video games industry on the surface is betraying and deceiving us as much as the world we are attempting to temporarily escape from. Well-established AAA video game companies are making games for the sole purpose of taking your money through manipulation and deception. The absurd number of publishers that engage in deceptive practices is staggering, which is sad because all we really want is to play something fun and engaging. It seems lately the best place to experience games that are created for the sake of making something that is entertaining and fun is games that lie outside the reach of corporate influence. Anything done for the sake of the money alone will eventually fail, by default. And the longer and closer that line is pushed, the more likely and absolute the failure. The money they are after is money that you acquired through an exchange of your time, generally speaking. And we spend our time consuming the media as well. Time is literally the rotating of the earth and the passing of your life essence. It's not a trivial thing. And sadly, far too often, there are people who wish to drain the life essence out of as many people as they can, and as often as they can, in the form of currency. This is why we're seeing this pattern wherein most AAA titles from these bastards have homogenized into a bland, gelatinous sameness. And let's be fair here, Hollywood and the games industry are looking more and more alike with each passing season. They are narrowing the media down, concentrating it based mostly on their aggregate data and market analysis, creating forgettable garbage. The secret to a truly successful company is to first create something that people will be excited about, something that delights and deeply engages the consumer. The goal should always be to make something that people will absolutely love. Once you do that, the rest will follow. The money will be there. But companies like EA build from a foundation of acquisition first and foremost. And look where that got them. They are by far the most hated publisher in the industry. And when you spend your money on the shiny turds they produce, it signals to those who would make the big decisions that what they're doing is right and effective at satisfying their bottom line. Pre-ordering a game in this current zeitgeist is always going to send publishers and developers the wrong message. You're telling them you don't care about how the game plays or about any of its actual content or story, as long as it has pretty graphics and a cool soundtrack in their trailer. Think about it. They are getting paid based on their marketing alone. They show you the pretty and you hand them the money before ever laying a finger on the product. And as we all know by now, a lot of major publishers are devilishly deceptive in their marketing approach, selling you on the first impression. I mean, it's not hard to trick people. We want to believe that something great is about to happen. Optimism is the default setting for a lot of people, especially when you entice them with the right combination of sound and imagery. Just go back and take a look at the E3 expos from the last several years. You'll see some of those announcements and remember how excited you felt and just how utterly gutted you felt when you realized you were duped. It's a sickening pattern. In the worst cases of lightly polished turd bombs coming out of development studios, it's typically the publishers who are putting pressure on the developers to crank out a product so they can acquire more wealth for themselves and their shareholders. And these developers have to crunch to meet deadlines, and they almost always do so with far less funding than they deserve for the work that they're putting into it, and not nearly enough time to do it properly. And most of the time, they have to release the game to satisfy some arbitrary fiscal timeline, ripping an unfinished game from the hands of the creatives. This is why we are seeing more and more AAA titles with no substance, cursed with bugs and horrid optimization, riddled with flashing, slot machine, pay-to-win trash thrown in to squeeze more cash out of the consumers. Notice how I said consumer. These publishers don't see players. They see wallets. This is the fatal flaw in this corporate system. These companies suffer from a case of too many grubby mitts in the cookie jar. I know, this is all very negative. I'm aware of how I'm coming across here. I'm sure some of you are thinking, Johnny, why don't you mention the indie developers? They sell us unfinished crap all the time. Well, the vast majority of these games come out under the umbrella of early access. They are informing you of the unfinished nature of their games. You're contributing to the completion of their work. They're being transparent about it. And transparency is what we need to build trust. And sadly, far too often, these early access independent games fall short due to poor planning and financial problems. Or, in the case of No Man's Sky, the deadly combination of assistance from a larger company hyping their game and putting pressure on them to release a product. That was bad enough, but this special fella flat out lied about key aspects of the game. He made shit up and just expected people to be too stupid to figure it out. And that poor bastard's had his foot marinating in his mouth ever since. Well, that's what you get for going into business with a major publisher. Yep, that's the message we want to send to indie developers. That's just an example of the Midas touch effect that major publishers have. But instead of everything turning to gold, it turns to a steaming pile of shit. I'm hoping to see this turn around soon, as it's really just become a dark blanket of clouds hanging over the world of gaming as we know it. There are some seriously incredible game publishers out there, don't get me wrong. And their work is the gold standard for fun and engaging experiences, but even the best of these companies are doing shady things. Rockstar was at one time a fantastic company, but with the continued play-to-win model of GTA 5 Online and the unbalanced structure built around the acquisition of in-game wealth, it's hard not to see the nightmarish reflection of economic disparity within the community. Those with either enough time or enough money to spend will inevitably do better and have a better time playing than those who don't. For those of us who don't want to purchase shark cards, keeping up with the Joneses is a constant grind. All this does is serve as a reminder to those of us who struggle out in the real world that, well, GTA isn't the place for them to escape the feeling that the chips are stacked against you. And I'm honestly worried that we're going to see this in the upcoming Red Dead sequel. I want to enjoy the online features of this game, but I really don't feel like getting mowed down by $1 million armored carriages with mounted Gatling gun turrets that I don't have the time or the money to acquire. I mean, damn bro, you already got my $60. These trends in video games have been serving to divide and break down online gaming communities. It's a shame. These massive companies could be making the most engaging breakthrough entertainment. They have the potential to be truly awe-inspiring. And while many of the environments and set pieces can vaguely inspire something resembling awe, it's quickly diminished by an overload of meaningless fetch quests and busy work. I'm not talking about any specific game here. This can be applied to the majority of AAA titles out there. If you care at all about the future of video games, please seek out the best and most interesting independent games and buy them. Sure, they're not always gigantic sandboxes, but your investment in these companies is an investment in a better future for gaming. Let's send a message to these bloated, gluttonous titans of the industry. Remind them why their companies even exist in the first place. Get involved in forum discussions. rattle their cages. And never ever let anyone tell you to stop bitching about what you dislike about what these companies produce. But also don't forget why you keep coming back. There is a magic in these forms of entertainment that we've gotten a taste for. All we're asking is that it's not neglected and abandoned solely for the sake of extracting our time and energy. We get enough of that from the real world already. I'm sure some of you will agree, and if you do, please let me know in the comments below. Every click of that like button is a little hit of dopamine for me. It encourages me to keep going. If you want to see more of my content, don't forget to click the subscribe button so my channel doesn't get lost in the shuffle of top 10 lists and cookie cutter gaming speculation videos. I may not always post on time, but I'll do my best to release at minimum 1 video per week. I'm not currently able to do this full time, but with your continued support, maybe someday that could change. I really enjoy making these videos and interacting with you guys. I hope that shows in the content I create. Thanks for watching.